Okay, so it's not often that we ignore the world's problems, but that we don't get to see them. When the voices of foreign aid are lost, we lose faith in its efficacy. Donor budgets shrink, international development consensus shifts. No, international. Oh my god. Donor budgets shrink, international consensus shifts away from development, and countries that could benefit from support are left behind. Today, we're speaking with someone who has worked with educational institutions such as the European Union, the United Nations Development Programme, the World Bank, and UNICEF, among others. She aims to bring the voices of Africa to leaders in the international development space. Born and raised in Zimbabwe, but actually raised across continents, she began her career as a teacher in Zimbabwe. She later worked as a teacher trainer at an elite school in Kazakhstan while completing her doctorate in higher education. Today, she designs and implements education systems in schools across the world with a focus in Africa. She has been a massive influence in my life, guiding my values, shaping how I see the world, and influencing how I think about service and systems. She is my mother. Today, we're exploring how the voices of international development workers are lost in the sea of the social media landscape. The world spends billions on development, yet online we barely know these people exist. So today, we're unpacking the structural gap between impact and attention. What stands between high impact development leaders and digital visibility? To answer that, we're diving into your perspective. Hey Mom, thank you for joining this interview. How are you doing?
Hello, Lino. Thank you for having me. It's exciting to be with you here on this very important topic. Yes, you are talking about the work that we do in the world, and why are we not so very visible on social media? This is your question, right?
Exactly. And I'll just
Oh,
start it
right.
off actually by talking about your work in general. So what does your day-to-day even look like?
Oh, my day-to-day work, my day-to-day day is
Mm,
packed,
mm,
fully packed. It starts out probably at 5 a.m., waking up and preparing to go to work. I get to the office. As soon as I step in there, I know that I will be rained on with demands. So as soon as I have set my laptop on my desk, I talk with my supervisor. What is there? What is the priorities for the day? Priorities change every day. They change every hour because our work is so full of many influences on what we do.
mm-hmm.
So I may start my day with a focus on, let's say, preparing a teacher training package.
Okay.
So I start to do that. 30 minutes into the work, I'm thinking I can do this for a day and I can finish it. 30 minutes into the work comes my supervisor and she tells me, you know what, this has happened and it's so urgent. Can we prepare this other thing instead? So I must change my mind, my thinking, move from one of these to the other.
Okay.
Before I
Keep
know
it
it,
dynamic.
I must go to this other office and solve a problem or ask a question or get instant information. Then we must go to the ministry because there is a meeting and the ministry needs this information. Then we must have the meeting online because we need to be coordinating and communicating with uh, consultants all over the world. Uh, by 2 p.m., I might think, oh, let me go back to that which I left in the morning. And I try to do that. Sometimes I manage for the rest of the afternoon. Sometimes I don't. What I'm saying is work is very dynamic and work demands lots of flexibility. Work is a lot. Your day is fully packed. And by the end of the day, you are tired. You have done a lot of things, but you can't say, I have done this one thing and finished it. So the next, you go home and you are still feeling that you needed to have finished that initial document. You go home and you try to finish it after work. So the work of a development worker is full and it is impactful and it involves a lot of communications, a lot of networking, a lot of uh, flexibility is demanded.
Yeah, it sounds like constant communication is involved. As in, you're always in between people, you're always in one call or somewhere else, and then you come back and you have to deal with another situation. It's like constant movement. Um,
Yes.
in there,
You know,
what work do you think is invisible to the public eye but crucial on the ground?
okay. What I have just described as a day to day is something that the outside does not see.
Hmm.
This in itself is work that is done in the offices. It is not seen to the outside world. What is seen to the outside world is when we go out into the field, either to do training or scoping or piloting, or to simply communicate with district leaders, or to set up, or let's say, structures for education. This is what is seen outside the office. And that work that we do outside, it is where the impact is seen, but we don't see the preparation for the impact.
Yeah, it's kind of like the whole you see the product but you barely see the process, right? You never see the you only see
That
the
is true.
events and not the actual, calloused hands behind the work.
That is true. That is true. But I think it is also the same in most other work situations. The work that's done in the offices is in a way hidden behind the walls of the offices. It is the impact outside or the product. Let's talk about those who produce detergents. The work that is done in the offices and the factories, we hardly see. We will see the product in our shops and we buy, we see them in our homes and our households, but we have no idea what went on in the background, in behind the scenes.
Yeah,
And that which is behind the scenes is a lot because it determines the product.
definitely, definitely. Mm, then, if we're talking about the international development space, then how come is it that such few high impact development leaders are building any public presence? Like,
Can you say that again? How come that this work that is done behind,
like your
I don't,
work
I
your
didn't,
work no problem, your work is highly relevant. It changes lives and impacts lives, right? And I mean, building making
yes,
detergents very much is the same, as in that it does impact massive, like huge amounts of people, and without detergents there'd be a lot more viruses around. Your work is a lot more active, a lot more communicative, a lot more human. And the question there is, so in this highly relevant space, how come so few leaders build a public presence online? Is it something about the?
oh,
Is it a matter of choice? Is it a matter of culture? Is there like some kind of structural constraint? Right?
okay. You are looking for why don't we have individual people on the public space, uh, social media, for example, you are talking
Yeah.
about. Why don't we have these people on Facebook, on Twitter,
On interviews, you know what I mean? On just on the
on interviews and things like this, or on international interviews. That's what you are asking.
exactly. Like,
Yeah.
is it something about the
You have
nature of the of development work that makes it difficult to communicate in short form media, or is it the culture that surrounds the work? What are the right like between
constraints. Okay.
yeah.
I hear you. Now I hear you. Let me give you as much of it as I can, uh, and see if this answers your question. First of all, the very nature of development work, right? This is work that demands giving of yourself. And like I described my day, you are occupied 100%, almost 100% of your time. So you are so much into doing what will bring out the impact that you want. I think more than ourselves, we want to lift the communities. And we don't have much of the desire to be out there as ourselves on social media. On the one hand, we would rather lift our communities, like when we are in the field and you are training teachers, which we do a lot, you would rather put the training of the teachers on social media because that's where your impact is. So you are more, in a way, not being at the front of the social media knowledge. You are more like putting your products there first.
Yeah.
That's one thing I think. The second thing I think is that social media has a way that we look at it, not only us, but I think the whole world looks at social media in a way. It puts a lot out there. If you really want to take your social media presence seriously, you got to be producing video after video, post after post, live after live. Sometimes you have to be there all the day. We have no time for that. We simply don't have the time for that. So you can't even think about it because my day is 100% full. Then you also think with this massive production for you to have your page work very well for you, the more you are putting out there, I think the less authentic it looks. If you are just producing and producing, it feels like it becomes less authentic. But this is my personal view. Beyond that, we got our own social and organizational structures, right? Each organization has its own rules and regulations about social media. How much you can put on social media, how much you cannot put on social media. Organizations have their own channels of communication. Sometimes they have their own communication departments who put out there what needs to be put out there. So you don't want to be putting out a lot and sometimes going against your organizational rules and regulations. And you don't know if what you are putting out there is in tandem with your organization's rules. But we know that we don't have to put everything out there. Sometimes it's for security and safety. Working in development work can be really sensitive. It depends on what you are working on. So you are protected by not having to shout out, here I am, I'm doing this, here I am, and tomorrow I will be doing that. It's not like saying tomorrow I'll be having a wedding at this venue. You know, it's so different. So you kind of stay away from social media in such a big, big way. And then sometimes when you talk about your work to people who have never been in development work, sometimes it feels like they think you are an alien from Pluto and you are trying to describe the rock structure that you found on Pluto. And it becomes very difficult for you to really love to talk about your work to people who have never seen it and never been in it. This experience I know a lot, especially when I'm talking to people in developed countries, people who grew up in their city, um, they have their whole life in the city, and you are trying to tell them, so I was in the rural area of Mutoko in Zimbabwe, and I was trying to do teacher training over there, and then we didn't have electricity, so
And
we
that's already a
got
different world.
to, and that's already a different world, and you are trying to explain this very important point to them. And you know what they ask you? Oh, did you see a spider? Yes, I saw a spider. I saw a spider. I live with the spiders. I live among them. So, so
We cuddle
you
at night, right?
also, in a way, when you think about that, you have to think very carefully about the content that you want to put on social media and the impact that it needs to have. Uh, so again, I will go back to development work being so time intense and work intense. Social media takes a lot of time. It takes quite some time to produce a good video which presents exactly what you want to present to the quality that you want. So you don't want to sacrifice quality for just being on social media.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you don't also want, in a way, to engage professional services, or you don't have the money for that. And therefore, you will need to have somebody who goes with you to your work and you must pay them. And you don't have much money. Development work, I told you, is about giving the self.
I understand.
So you can't do that in a way. Those are the restraints and the constraints that I see in development work. Why much of our work is not on social media. However, having said all that, I think you don't see much of us on Facebook and on Instagram, on TikTok. However, we are on LinkedIn to a certain extent because LinkedIn, we take it to be the professional social media platform. So we put quite some stuff with all these restrictions that I have talked about on LinkedIn. Did I
Interesting.
answer your question?
Yes, in a very multifaceted approach. I think the most interesting parts to me, or kind of what really caught my eye was something you said. It was your second point, I believe. We go there, and what we want to do is do this selfless work for people, right? So the point of our work isn't to present ourselves. The point is to go out and help or support the world, right? And so it makes so much sense that a platform like social media, which is perceived as so self representative, as in like where you go out and you're supposed to show yourself, is then kind of counteracted or opposite to the approach of going out and trying to help the world. On the other hand, I hear I go outside and I want to talk with people, or I want to present my work, And there's this massive divide, this disconnect when I try to combine my world with theirs and with the Western world, right, with the developed world. And so what I do here is still the need or the want, as I believe all humans, like the want to be recognized with your work, right? Not necessarily for your work, but together with your work, right? So we go out, and of course we want to talk about what happens. We also want to educate people about what happens, right? And
Yes, we do.
and especially the people in developed countries, they are the ones who with whom that bridge should be created the most, as they are the ones with the funds. They're the ones that kind of influence whether these whether support is support happens, right? Support is created.
Yeah.
And I think it's so.
Yes, but again, for that, if you are talking about our funders and our donor community and um, the philanthropists out there, there are channels of reporting to them. So, as far as I know, social media is not one of them.
Exactly. And I would say that, for let's take something like massive cuts to funds, right? I believe if there was an international consensus that the relevance to development aid is essential, if that consensus existed, then something like cuts to international aid wouldn't happen, couldn't happen, because there would be massive feedback from the community, from whole countries or continents, that that isn't okay. And so I believe social media is vital to keeping foreign aid, international development work relevant.
Yeah, I get your point. I get you totally. Yes. On the other hand, those people that are in development work, they know. The communication happens with those in the in the development work. It's also in a way constant. Like I said, we have our channels of talking and communicating within the structures of our organization. So it is very well communicated. However, what I am not too sure about is the value that is placed on development work by those high people that you are talking about. You who are on the ground, you understand exactly how important this is. Sometimes it is just this program that is keeping a whole community alive. Okay. Take an example where organizations are responding to emergencies, responding to terrible floods, responding to extreme hunger and starvation, responding to war situations, right? Talk about the people that are on the ground, the people who are in the communities trying to help, delivering food aid, delivering safety, delivering bandages and packages for health. These people know, and they know that the work that we are doing, it is not only important, it is crucial for the survival of people, of a community, of structures,
Yeah.
right? Now, these people on the ground, sometimes, yes, they put some social media posts, but if you are not on the ground and you are in your office, even if you are in the same country where these things are happening, you are in the office and you are hearing from the field person the way it comes to you is already filtered because
Interesting.
they cannot transmit to you exactly what they see, exactly what they hear, exactly what they smell, exactly how the situation is. This is something that you have to live in order to understand. Now,
Interesting.
think about how much is lost. I think 90% is lost between what is on the ground and what you hear as the person in the office in the country.
This is fascinating.
Now, think about more of the loss as you go up the communication chain until it gets to someone sitting in a New York office whose focus is another thousand things, where probably those who are suffering from the flood in Mozambique is the least of his priorities, right?
So
So we get, like in all systems and natural systems, 90% loss of energy at every trophic level. Same happens in the communication in development work. And you hear some people say, development work, it is not so important. This is a waste of time and a waste of money. When I hear such things, I understand this person does not know development work. But okay, there you are.
interesting,
Let's
interesting.
go.
But that's super interesting because the way I understand it, it's like not even social media the as the gateway to communicate to the world. I mean, also that, right? As you just said, there are people that also just don't understand the value of development work. But social media as a way to show relevance to your own organization. Like social media as the ability to talk, to enable bottom up communication.
I
And
get that.
and that is something I'd never thought about. That is very fascinating.
And
Genuinely.
okay, and as I have said, we have our ways of communicating. So a lot that happens when we are in the field or when our people are in the field is we have WhatsApp groups. And in those WhatsApp groups, depending on what we are doing, we take pictures and share on the WhatsApp group. So the people who are sitting in the office see and
See,
understand
right?
what we are doing.
Because that's
So
contained. Because
when
that's very
you are
contained.
in a like flood situation, I talk flood because it is very visual. I'm not in flood and emergencies, I'm in education, okay? So if you take a short video of a flood, right, and you send it to your boss in the office, they will have an idea of what is happening there, okay? And they will know how to respond and guide you. So we have this social media use, right? But within the
I
organization,
understand.
it is allowed.
I also understand that it's very contained, as in, the one problem you mentioned was there are vital structures set in place, and people at the very top, they oftentimes don't understand how important these structures are because information gets lost at every link. And so social media as the ability to shortcut that and show relevance not only to that person up there, but to the world, which then further shows it to that person up there. Right?
I get that.
Super,
Yeah,
super,
I
super
get that.
interesting. Super interesting.
Yeah.
I think that's a very, very important perspective, again, that I hadn't taken into account of the importance of social media there. And I find it interesting that one thing you mentioned was there is an insecurity around what you're allowed or able to post because of the structures set in place to keep you and the organization and the sensitive information protected. Right?
Yeah, because this is done through structures. There are people who are able to talk about things that are happening in the
Would you
organization. It's not everyone
would you
because we
want
can.
would you want clearer communication from the organizations on what you're allowed to post on social media and what you aren't?
Um, when you need that one, you can always ask. Uh, some of it is actually in the contract, you know what you can do and what you cannot do. But if you are now wanting to go beyond what the contract says, you can always talk with your superiors and find out if this is something you can talk about, or is this something you can't talk about? It has to be talked about by this other person in the communication
Do you
chain.
do you think posting or creating valuable thought through content should be incentivized more?
Can you ask that again? Do I think creating content?
Right. Do you think creating valuable content, as in also high quality content, should be incentivized more? I could ask the question like, do you
You mean
believe
for the organization? You are talking about the organization?
for the organization, right? For the people of the organization as well. For the
For
relevant people.
individuals on the one hand and for the organization.
Yes, more so the individuals than the organizations for now. Do you think more of that should be incentivized, as I understand that, you know, the way you described it, the problems, the difficulties could be solved um, by having better structures in place. So the insecurities around what's allowed to be posted and what's not, the problems around your work beginning to feel shallow or your work beginning to feel diluted if you post it online. Those are things that can be solved by, you know, putting, or you not having, more so you not having enough time, right? These are things that can be solved by putting structures in place.
Yeah,
Do
but
you believe that?
what structures would those be, which will maximize time for the organization more than it is already maximized now? You know, when I talked about time, I said my day is 150% full.
Yeah.
By the time I'm home, all I want is to be able to eat something and go to sleep so I can have enough rest to start tomorrow on a more uh, workful and wakeful mode. So if I want to put more things on social media, uh, I must work out for myself. It should be done at the weekend. It should be done after hours, but after hours, you are so tired. I don't see what
Exactly.
incentivization can be put into that structure. You are already flat out.
Let
And
me.
then you ask yourself, let me tell you, when I come home and I want to kind of put like a summary of my day on my social media, I ask myself, is it more important for me to put that information on social media now than it is for me to sleep and get a rest and take care of myself?
I think
So
that comes to the question then, which is, do you think greater visibility would help the field or harm it?
I honestly don't know if greater visibility will help the field or if it will actually destroy the field. I don't know. Like I say, if it is opened up and everybody is just so busy wanting to put something on social media, I'm afraid it will take the focus away from the work that we must do as an organization for the community. And then the focus will become me and my social media channel and me as an expert of this. I think that it is fine as it is
Interesting.
because it is you must tread a very fine line, and in if you are working for yourself in development work, right? Like you are an individual consultant and you are doing this, it's a business and you are not employed by someone,
Mm.
okay?
Mm.
Then you are free to put whatever you put on social media as many times as you want. But as long as you are working for an organization who is paying for your time, you can't use the organization's time to do your social media work.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, you, the way I understand it, the visibility, the problem with creating more visibility for international development work lies in the fear around that work becoming diluted, right? That work becoming less relevant through social media because it then veers from seriousness to entertainment. Did,
In a way,
right?
yes, Lino. And on the other hand, there are those organizations who really put quite some stuff on their social media pages, but they are done by the departments of communication in the organization. So it is the organization's site and not the individual's site. And that works very well as I see it. Some of these organizations are putting up 3-4 posts a day. And I admire that because it is in their structure. Their communication department, I guess, is very much active. And it depends also on the size and volume of work that comes to the communication department and how well they are staffed. Otherwise, some of these organizations, there's 2 people in communications, they cannot cover everything, while others probably have 5 or more. They can spread themselves around and cover several activities that are happening in the day. So you see, every organization with its own structure, and in the end,
With
as long as the work that we are doing gets out there one way or the other, you know,
mm-hmm.
probably not necessarily through social media, but let's say reasonable social media with the structures that we use, emails, reports, conference calls, monitoring and evaluation, all these happen as a way of communicating what's happening in the organization. The social media space is really now taking it out to everybody. And I hear what you are saying. It's important because some people just don't know what is happening in development work. But I think that the way it is at the moment, in a way, suffices the work that we do. However, your point, very important. Work is going digital, communication is going viral in a
Yeah,
way. And do you think development work will benefit from viral posts on social media?
it's
um,
I under like I mean more so. How do you imagine that these structures set in place to be future proof when most of all of the attention nowadays is moving away from those traditional structures you talked about, even those traditional digital structures you talked about, right? Email and WhatsApp messages and all of that. The huge amount of attention across the world, especially as younger generations take the place of older generations. the importance of social media to keep these international development spaces up the importance of social media will only continue to increase for international development spaces as younger generations take the place of older generations. That's where I see the inherent need for social media to become a core strategy, not only of the companies, or even for the companies, but also for the people behind those companies.
Okay.
To educate people behind about the work that's being done. And I understand basically to say, currently the visibility we have, it suffices. That's what you said, right? It suffices for what it is now. The way I see it, it'll continue to decrease as time passes. And that means that what will happen is what we see now, right? Where in America, even the possibility to just cut all of those funds is there, right? The possibility, because then there's no massive drawbacks to it, and that can only continue as social media stays where it is now for those international development spaces.
In which case, I will say the way to go forward, we will take those organizations I talked about, the ones who are at the moment able to post 4 posts, 5 posts about their work in the day, and make this as the model and grow this so that the communications departments of the organizations put more out there. They work to enhance the image of the work that is done in development work. I wouldn't want to go as far as to viralize development work for every individual in the organization. I wouldn't go that far, because that will be an explosion and we will not be able to manage what is being said and what is not being said, whether it is okay to say this or not. It will need yet another department that checks whether what you want to post is okay. This will be, I think, in the end, chaotic.
Might that not be the most important? Might that not be the most important channel that that organization could have for its future?
We can think about it and look into the future. Again, I personally am afraid. I'm afraid when we open up these channels. It's just like in your family, Lino. In our family, if we say you can talk about anything and everything on social media, go as viral as possible, I think we can begin to see things that we never wanted to see about our own children on social media. So where is the privacy then in the end? We have privacy which protects us as individuals and as humans.
Yeah.
Now, if we open up all this, we are taking away privacy as an important aspect of life. And we are saying post anything, everything, whatever, whenever. You might just as well wear a live camera every moment of your life and broadcast live. I don't know if this is the direction the world is going, and if we want to go there, I don't know if it will be more productive for the world, or if it will simply increase consumerism of social media content at the expense of the real work on the ground.
Interesting. Yeah, what I hear repeatedly is the fear of work becoming diluted through social media and not the relevance of that work being strengthened, right? So it's the fear that if we make people post more, then it'll become less about the work, more about the people. It'll become less serious and more fun. It'll become less important and more entertaining, right? And
I think that's what social media is about, entertainment.
okay, that is very interesting. Yeah.
Let people consume my content, and the more people consume my content, the more popular I become. Probably the more money I can make. But again, what is the quality of the content that is coming out there that is really making people rich?
For some quite a lot, right? There are definitely educational channels, very important, very big, large educational channels that make very high quality and also educational, calmer content. And I understand that, and I imagine that this is something very many people in your space feel and fear, and very many experts in their field feel and fear. That feeling that if I start posting on social media, I will be sacrificing authority and importance at the expense of education. No way, for education, right? I'll be sacrificing authority and importance and credibility.
Authority,
yeah, very important.
Credibility,
for education, right?
Authority, credibility, ethics. Versus the education that you are giving out
when
there.
When really the real
like
possibility.
I said before,
the real possibility lies in taking
I said before, Lino, like I said before, if a person is really working completely for themselves in their space, let it be development work, let it be what, if they are working completely for themselves, by all means, put all the content out there. Because that's your work, and you decide for yourself what you want to put out there. But if you are working for another person, even if it is just one more person, what you post must be agreed on between the two of you. If you are just a pair working together, you must agree together. Now, if you are 100 people working in an organization, and everyone puts whatever they want, isn't that a little bit out of hand? It goes out of hand. And
exactly.
I think this is the
exactly. That's I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree that it shouldn't be uncontrolled, right? I think I see it as extremely important that more is posted, especially for the people, for the individual workers, to increase the relevance of their work, right? To show the relevance of their work. I do believe, on the other hand, not everyone should just post out of the blue. And that's why I believe there should be more incentives to help these relevant people in those organizational structures to post online, right? There should be more taught about how do you post without losing credibility? How do you make high quality posts, right? There should be, and I think this is where we come together, right? Is to say, posting isn't bad. Posting is actually, or making content is actually quite important and good. But what is bad is sacrificing authenticity, credibility, importance for visibility.
Exactly. We don't want to sacrifice that.
Right. And that's, I think, the core point that all of this really revolves around. And I think all of this really revolves around also for all the experts in your space, right? For everyone, for all your peers, is what I hear is we want to talk about what we do. We want to bring our work out there. We want to educate people about it, but we don't want to lose importance. We don't want to sacrifice. We don't want to lose authenticity in how close this is to us, right? That this is actually important to us, and social media feels so fake or so distant. And so in an optimal sense, right? In an optimal sense, I would be able to, on my channel, transfer how important this is, not just to the world, but to me, to the person watching. And that brings me to kind of the actually, I think that's a beautiful ending to this. I think that's a beautiful ending to this.
I agree.
Right?
Good.
Wow. I mean, wild, right? I think this was a beautiful conversation. I really loved this. I think it was incredible how we came back together, and those insights of yours really brought that whole image together. I think we got a really wide view of the importance, the struggles, the problems, and the positives of social media for that work and for the individual.
I'm happy you see it that way. I'm happy I contributed to this insight for you. Even for me as well, because I had to look at it differently and in a way change my mind a bit about some things, learned a little bit more, especially looking at the future communication of the world, especially there where you said the younger generation is taking over more of the roles, and the younger generation is social media crazy. So there is no way you can want to stay in your cocoon, in your box, and say, I don't do social media. That's something to really think about for me. That is a take home.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. I'll definitely be thinking a lot about all of those struggles that lie there. You know what I mean? Those struggles of inauthenticity and losing credibility. I think there's a real way, a really valuable way to keep authenticity in your work and present it online. But that has to be found and created. All right, Mom, Philippa, Mom, Dr. Phil Schleri, Mom.
Lino Rufaro.
Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me, Lino.
There will be ample opportunities to continue this conversation in the future, and I hope we find them, and we will
Let's do that.
Continue to keep putting in good work as we did today, and as we often have, and we often will again. Thank you everyone for listening. Is there like we could do like a question round if there are some viewers here and they have any questions, but I do not think that is the case. That's okay. All right, thank you, Mom.
Thank you, Lino. Let's meet a little later.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Bye.
Wild. Right? What a beautiful conversation. Really something to think about. Lots and lots of things to think about and think through. There is real space for experts to gain visibility online. Thank you for listening, as we often have, and we often